Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Vedic Astrology study channel. Wanted to briefly show you the introduction to chapter 4, but before that, the people who are drawn to Jyotish or astrology typically have something in the chart which shows that they have brought this kind of a knowledge from past lives, or they are drawn towards mysticism and occult. And this message is dominantly for all of those. Those who are drawn to investigate, study, and become a student of occult and mystical knowledge. Specifically in regards to Jyotish or Vedic astrology, here's my take and here's my suggestion to you. Take it step by step. Number one, go slowly. This is a slow and a long journey. And my experience with Vedic astrology for the past 4 odd years is that it is a self-revealing science. It reveals itself more and more. And not just in the context of your personal life or in the context of how your place is with regard to all that you're surrounded with in the human world, your parents, your siblings, your friends, and so on, but also in the larger context of what this is in regards to your place with the rest of nature, with plants, with animals, with Earth itself, the non-human world, so to speak. Above and all, once you start delving into the different chapters and everything else, what Vedic astrology should provide you is a sense of peace. A peace beyond what you had imagined before you stepped into this investigation and this study. In that sense, my experience of this has been that it is not an ordinary science. It is not a science like you study chemistry, physics, or biology, for example. It is a science which is self-revealing, and it always continues to reveal a larger picture of what you are about, what soul is about, what the embodied soul in this lifetime happens to be, and why things play out the way things play out. And it reveals itself through your own intuition. There are plenty of good teachers out there. You can take their courses as well. The reason I have decided to make this as packaged into podcasts, which you can listen to anytime. There's an entire huge library of it, and I'll continue to develop those as well as much as I can. But the whole thing is, it should provide you some peace of mind. You can study from teachers if that's what you're called to, face to face, listening to them. There are plenty of good teachers now. Thanks to YouTube, many of them have come online also. You select whoever you feel strongly resonant with. This one I have packaged more like an audiobook. Okay, so you can listen anytime you on your cell phones, on your pad, and so on. It's a more portable system. And although this is like the flat AI voice, it's basically a teaching. It's basically a readout of everything that I have been querying it. Okay. Remember, it should provide you a sense of peace. If it is making you more restless and more anxious, move away from this. This is not for you. Do something else. There are plenty of other things you can investigate and study, right? There is no need to participate in something that does not provide you the peace of mind, the answer to the puzzles of human life. Why are you here? What is there in this life for me to do as best as I can? Things like that. Questions we all ask ourselves at one point or the other. Okay? So I wanted to leave you with that before I begin the introduction to chapter 4. Now, as you can see, chapter 4 starts expanding on concepts, basic concepts. This one deals with the planets itself, or the Grahas. Now, the word Graha comes from Sanskrit, which essentially, if you want to translate, the core meaning means to hold, to grasp, something that holds a certain thing. Okay? When it comes to planets, why they are called Grahas is each planet has a certain portfolio, a certain energy it carries, a certain way it manifests in our lives. So I had to start unpacking this step by step so you understand the full scope of what is a planet. Not just in stereotypical terms, but unwrapping it stage by stage. Okay. So first podcast is in 10 parts, deals with what is a planet, what is a Graha, according to Vedic Astrology. 1 to 10 parts. Second set deals with planet maturity, parts 1 to 3. Then comes planetary symbolic life stage associations, 3 parts. Then comes personification of planets, part 1 to 3. And psychological archetypes of planets in 3 parts. Okay, so this is the structure of chapter 4. Fine. I want to delve some more into this, which I shall give it as a part of introduction here. We speak of planet maturity in Vedic astrology, which means planet maturity refers to the age at which a planet in your natal chart becomes fully functional, psychologically integrated, and karmically active. When I'm saying karma, or when I'm using the word karma in this podcast, what I mean is this. It is not a doom and gloom kind of scenario. It essentially means we have come with some degree of memory from past life. That which is stored in what we term as Akash. So you have brought something as memory from all the previous lifetimes. And some things your soul has come to decide to clear up or neutralize this lifetime. That's what I mean by karma, just saying. Each planet has specific age when it matures, and this doesn't mean suddenly it starts working. Remember, all planets, all nakshatras, all 12 signs are already there in everyone's chart. But the timing of it is what Jyotish is about. Some things work at certain times more dominantly than the others. Keep this in mind. It's rather that the individual is now consciously aware of its influence and begins to express it in its pure, undistorted form. So this is the chart of planet maturity. Okay. Let's see what the planet maturity ages are. This is when a person ages. These are the planets listed there, 9 ones of them. And what is the psychological karmic implication of that maturity? Moon matures at age 24, which means emotional maturity and capacity for nurturing and feeling secure. Then comes Mars at 28 years old. Control over aggression, assertion, drive, and ambition. Mars is also anger. Mars is also logic. Every planet, you must understand, has multiple meanings in Jyotish. Then comes Mercury, 32 years of age, intellectual and communicative balance and decision making. Then comes Jupiter, but Jupiter matures at 16 years of age. Early philosophical grounding, faith, wisdom comes naturally. This is why you might see teenagers are more intent on challenging norms and trying to understand their place. Why am I here? What am I here to do? Jupiter asks such kind of deep questions. All of us, when we are teenagers, ask quite a number of deep questions. We may have forgotten it now, but that's where it starts. Venus matures at 25. Emotional and romantic balance, aesthetic awareness. Venus, more than anything, is a carrier of life. We'll deal with this more in the podcasts. Sun matures at 22, which is identity formation, the solidification of your ego. Saturn matures at 36, the full karmic accountability, discipline, realism. Discipline is more centered in that, and detachment. Rahu and Ketu mature at 42 and 48. Rahu is kind of mastery over material illusions and worldly success. Rahu wants everything worldly, everything materialistic, only to realize that it doesn't mean anything for the soul. There is no peace of mind with Rahu, is constant hunger. Ketu, spiritual clarity, detachment, and moksha orientation. As much as Rahu wants things, Ketu wants to leave things. These are the dualistic aspects of human life, right? Then comes timing of life events. The age of maturity often triggers turning points in a person's life. A person with strong moon might stabilize emotionally or become a parent around 24. If Mars is afflicted, these are just examples, random examples. If Mars is afflicted, maturity at 28 might bring struggles with anger, career pressure, or independence. A well-placed Saturn gives solid responsibility at 36. A poorly placed one might bring late life delays. Okay? Psychological integration. This isn't just timing, it's inner development. Remember, your soul is growing through all these experiences. Your soul, the one which came into your body now, doesn't matter which gender you are, which is going to live a certain life and leave at a certain point. So this is a small period from birth to death, where your soul is trying to play out certain themes. Venus maturing at 25 often correlates with serious relationships, aesthetic refinement. You start seeing with some degree of refinement. Everything that moon is, Venus is a kind of a degree of refinement of that. Venus is refinement. That's why aesthetics. Aesthetics is refinement of what we see. Mercury at age 32 suggests refined speech, judgment, and thought processing, especially key for communicators, writers, and such. Karmic resolution versus karmic burden. Two different things, isn't it? One you are trying to resolve, one you are feeling burdened with. Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, sometimes even Mars, they are especially karmic planets. Until 36, Saturn may cause fear, self-doubt, restriction. After that, if handled well, there's the key. It gives structure and maturity. Rahu, 42 and 40, Ketu, 42 and 48, represent final frontier, where material mastery, if you have handled this well, and spiritual liberation, if you have handled that well, culminate in one's evolution, soul evolution. Rather than karmic, I would put it soul evolution. Nuances often missed in interpretation are: maturity is not the same as Dasha activation. Dasha is the periods of life. You were born at certain arrangement of planets, but since then planets are continuously going around the zodiac. A planet can be in Mahadasha before maturity or after. Maturity marks the full self-awareness of that planet's power, or how you wield it. Malefic planets mature later. Mars, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu all mature much later than benefics like Jupiter and Moon. Why? Because life gives you time to understand your shadow as well. A side note here, in my understanding of Jyotish, Jyotish is the light. It's like the light of this daylight sun. It shines on everything. It shines on your shadow self also. Each one of us has a light and a shadow part. So if you're doing shadow work, I would suggest to use this as a powerful tool to unravel your shadow or your client's shadow, for example. This is not just a goody-goody science and wanting to see only the good parts. Then Jyotish is not for you. If you want to come to Jyotish, you will be seeing everything. It is the light of God itself. House and sign modify the maturity expression. Venus maturing at 25 will look different in 7th house, which will focus on marriage, and 10th on career and public image, your fame, your success. Add nakshatra influence for granular insight. Naisargik Dasha. I have not seen many astrologers speak of it, so I just wanted to bring up that point here. What is Naisargik Dasha? Naisargik means that which is natural planetary periods. Unlike Vimshottari Dasha, which depends on moon nakshatra at birth, Naisargik Dasha follows a fixed planetary sequence based on the natural order and the karaka, or the significator logic of each planet, the portfolio of each planet. The purpose is, it describes which planet is naturally influencing a person during a specific age. Age bands, essentially. Think of this as planetary curriculum of life. Each period trains the soul in lessons of that particular life. So in the order of Naisargik Dasha, you will see a kind of a cyclical movement. For example, Naisargik is a little different from the order of the previous one we saw in the slides. 1 to 6 years is Saturn, basic survival, discipline, and karmic grounding. So from the age of 1 to 6 years, most of which none of us remember, Saturn is active. Naturally active. Naisargik means something that is natural to the self, to the planet. 7 to 12 is Rahu, social stimulation, desires, and early ego formation. This is beginning in the order of years, but the cycle of planets will repeat. 13 to 15 years is Ketu, which is detachment, introversion, and psychic sensitivity. 16 to 21 years is Jupiter, which stands for expansion, education, dharma, and spiritual imprinting. 22 to 23 years is Sun, the ego formation. The solidification of the ego happens in this age very strongly. Doesn't matter what the dasha is going on, by the way. 24 years, Moon is active. Emotional anchoring, security, and nurturing ability. 25 to 27 years, Venus is active, which stands for love, beauty, and all things aesthetic. 28 to 33 years, Mars is active. This is why a person may be thinking more about drive, ambition, assertion, and handling conflict. 34 to 35 years, Mercury may be active, will be active, communication, reasoning, and career thinking. 36 to 41 years, Saturn again becomes active. See, we saw the cycle return. Responsibility, karma, long-term vision. This is when a person thinks about that age group. 42 to 47 years, Rahu becomes active. This is when the midlife crisis essentially occurs, by the way. Material mastery, public persona, ambition. I want to achieve something. Why am I not getting all the things which were promised to me? That happens in this age, midlife crisis. 48 to 50 years is Ketu, which is spiritual detachment. You leave that kind of Rahu thinking, come to Ketu. 51 to 56 years, Jupiter. You become a sort of a mentoring role in your job, career, relationships. 57 to 58 years, Sun becomes active. Reassessment of identity. What did I achieve so far in life in all these 58 years? Focus on legacy, what you want to leave behind. 59 years, Moon becomes active. Deep nurturing, reflection, and home orientation. 60 to 62 years, Venus becomes active once again. You want to enjoy the beauty of life, the balance and the harmony. 63 to 68 years, Mars becomes active. Final phase of action, courage and transformation. As you observe, planets repeat, but their influence evolves based on our own maturity and the age we are in. You get the whole gist of this? Keep this in mind when you go through all the planets and dashas also. Philosophical and psychological implication. Planet is quote-unquote active or karma-triggered plus mind state dominant. Each period reflects a dominant karmic theme, whether it's Vimshottari Dasha system, Kal Chakra Dasha system, any system that you use, remember these themes. With the planet significations taking the center stage in terms of life events, career, marriage, travel. In terms of psychological conditioning, confidence, fear, anxiety, detachment, and so on. In terms of soul's learning curriculum, what is your soul learning? Events will continue to happen in my life, your life, everybody's life, yes? Human lives, individual lives. But what is it happening in regard to our specific chart, in regards to our specific personality, if you will? How is the soul growing? Practical application in natal chart reading. And then you can use the same principles even in divisional charts. What I'm presenting more in podcasts, the basic course, is a set of principles of Vedic Astrology or Jyotish which can be used in every single divisional chart. Okay, it's not just the natal chart. When analyzing a chart, check what house and sign the active Naisargik planet sits in. Review whether it's afflicted, exalted, which dasha periods overlaps. All this will be covered. See if the planet is also mature during its active Naisargik phase. For example, if Venus rules the 7th house and its Naisargik period is 25 to 27, 60 to 62, coincides with the Venus Mahadasha or transit or Antardasha, expect relationship-based karmas, marriage, artistic calling, aesthetic calling, or even sensual indulgent themes to surface or resurface. That's what it means. Saturn as the guardian of foundation and maturity. Saturn is slow. Saturn is time. Saturn is your breath. You take the first breath as a baby and you breathe the last one out when you are dead. Saturn is this period of life which dictates the unfoldment of your karmic imprint. Life stages: infancy 1 to 6 years, adulthood, accountability 36 to 41 years. Keywords of Saturn are structure, survival, karma, discipline, realism, not imaginary stuff. Saturn grounds you more than any other planet. Your fear versus resilience. Saturn teaches you fear and doubt and how to overcome that as well by structured work essentially. Symbolic role, the builder of reality. Development focus. What does Saturn teach? It teaches delayed gratification. That word is a little misused, I feel. It teaches you gratification through structured work and resilience. Early years 1 to 6 reflect constraint in boundaries, crawling and rules dictated by parents and society. 1 to 6 years are not capable of anything. None of us are. Midlife stands with karmic reckoning and responsibilities, career, health, and legacy. Matures at 36, accepts life as it is, not one as one wishes it to be. Okay? Rahu. What does Rahu do? The seeker of worldly desire and chaos. Materialist. The materialist in us, all of us. Life stages. Curiosity phase, 7 to 12 years. Material power years, 42 to 47 years. Keywords are desire, ambition, chaos, illusion, experimentation. It wants to experiment with things. It wants to see how to achieve things. Symbolic role is the material alchemist. Development focus, childhood imagination and rebellion such as media, tech, fantasies. Later life ambition, 42-47, seeks recognition. Wanted to become a manager or something more recognized, come into the public view. Rahu is the one which craves public view. Politics, fame, career, ambition, deception possible. At age 42, the real mastery of material illusion occurs. The symbolic life stage association of Ketu, the mystic, detachment and intuition. Life stages are two parts. Ketu unfolds and typically the early inner withdrawal. Ketu is also rebellious, by the way. It rejects everything. This is why teenagers reject many things. Inner withdrawal. And then it ripens at 48 to 50. See, there's such a gap between them. Between the earlier Ketu manifestation and later, there's a huge difference. This is why it is important to understand Naisargika Dasha and build it into your predictions, build it into your reading of personality. Keywords are detachment, mysticism, intuition and past life residues. That's how it plays in two age brackets. Symbolic role is the ghost of the karma or the samskara, as you might call it. The word samskara in Sanskrit means memory. So samskaras are playing out through Ketu and Rahu also. Development focus, teenage withdrawal and unusual psychic sensitivity. Later life, spiritual detachment and letting go of ego. At 48, awareness of moksha and soul truths. Sun, the hero of identity or ego. Life stage associations are 22 to 23, 57 to 58. Keywords, confidence, purpose, ego, leadership, and inner authority. Symbolic role is the inner king, your soul. Sun is the natural Atmakaraka, your soul. Development focus is post-college search for identity, 22 to 23. Career formation. Later in life, 57 to 58, legacy building. What can I leave behind? By the way, I am in 58 right now. Re-evaluating one's impact. Maturity at 22, birth of authentic identity. Moon, the heart of nurture and emotion. Life stages is 24 and 59. Huge gap again there. Keywords, emotional security, what you're looking for at 24. Memory, home, mother, and adaptability. Symbolic role is the inner child and the mother. Development focus at 24, emotional grounding occurs. Often this age for serious relationships, career, home balance. Later in life, caregiving and spiritual calmness. Venus, the lover and the aesthetic healer. Life stages is 25 to 27, 60 to 62. You might be feeling or thinking more aesthetics, refinement, art, beauty in these ages. Relationships, sensuality, values, how you perceive life, how you refine the lens of your inner vision is Venus. Symbolic role, the harmonizer, like the Libra, or resources like Taurus. Developmental focus is love, partnership, wealth, taste, and refinement. Later, in life, which is at 60 to 62, same Venus comes back and enjoys the beauty of life. Music, maybe art forms more. It matures at 25, balance between pleasure and purpose. Mercury, the analyst and the messenger, 34 to 35 years. Keywords: communication, intellect, adaptability, wit, and strategy. The problem solver is Mercury, intellectual knowledge, that which builds over time, like Gemini or Virgo. Developmental focus is when logic, faculties, business thinking, communication, and intellectual versatility bloom fully. Clarity in communication and vocational thinking. Jupiter matures like the sage and the teacher. Life stages is Naisargika Dasha is 16 to 21 and then 51 to 56. There's a wide age gap. Whatever Jupiter is doing in your chart between 16 and 21 is totally different from what it will do in 51 to 56. That's the graduation of Jupiter. Keywords: wisdom, faith, education, dharma, optimism. Symbolic role: the guiding star. Development focus being education, spiritual belief, your moral and ethical compass, how it's calibrated. Later one becomes a mentor, a guide, or a philosopher. Matures at 16, intuitive alignment and dharma begins, the journey begins. Holistic map of planets as guardians of the soul's curriculum. Just like you have stages of curriculum in your mainstream education, so do planets. Okay. 0 to 6, structured safety, Saturn, survival and boundaries. 7 to 15, desire versus detachment, Rahu and Ketu. 16 to 24, belief versus identity, Jupiter, Sun and Moon. 25 to 35, pleasure versus power, Venus, Mars, Mercury. 36 to 50, karma versus liberation, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu. 51 to 68, wisdom and rebirth, Jupiter, Moon, Venus and Mars. What is planetary personification? Let's see a little bit about this, and I shall leave you with this part. Personification of planets is the idea, or the reality I would call it, that each Graha represents not just cosmic forces or archetypes, but fully embodied personalities. And during different phases of life, we become like those planets. It's almost like you're channeling planets through your soul energy. You're not just influenced by planets, you become them. Each planet shown in Naisargika Dasha activates the specific planetary archetype, and you unconsciously take on personality traits, psychological tendencies, and karmic lessons of that Graha. That's why it's called Graha, one that holds. And why this matters, the psychological implication. This model brings that life is a drama. All of life is a stage, like Shakespeare said. Your character changes over time. This is why the study of Jyotish is a slow and methodical process. Do it like Jupiter and Saturn. Don't do it like Rahu. Everything I want to analyze right now and I want to get the results right now. Rahu is like that. I want everything right now. All the YouTube shorts is like Rahu. Okay. All the clickbait thumbnails is like Rahu. Click on me, trying to be attractive. Planets act like rotating protagonists inside your consciousness. Your inner motivations, fears, desires, communication styles shift with each planetary period, especially when overlaid with planet maturity. So you have to overlay these things over Mahadasha. It's not one thing. Nothing in Jyotish is one thing and for one thing only. It is a multi-layered, multi-dimensional aspect. Okay? This explains why a child 1 to 6 behaves more like stoic or reserved, like Saturn. A young adult 16 to 21 is idealistic, faith-driven, like Jupiter. A person in the 30s might be laser-sharp, logical, action-oriented, Mars-Mercury blend. A 50-year-old seeks to teach, give back, and lead from wisdom, Jupiter again. Saturn, the stoic elder or disciplinarian. let's start with this. The planetary archetype of Saturn. We already saw the ages. Keywords are control, structure, fear, discipline, integrity. The downside of Saturn is it gives a lot of fear and doubt. Okay, so remember that if you're fear and doubtful, check your Saturn and what it's doing, and try to understand the higher order of this Saturn, what it is trying to provide you with. There is always a higher order and the lower order of each planet. There's always the light and shadow. You got to understand what each one is and do consciously. Activated inner taskmaster, realist, builder, or even a survivalist. Behavioral shift occurs at 36 to 41. We become more serious, cautious, process driven. External positive traits are seen as disciplined, mature, beyond age, and reliable. Sometimes even kids, it's exact as if they are overgrown. Stability, work ethic, and authority. External negative traits, with the external positive and negative for each planet we are seeing. Perceived as cold, rigid, emotionally distant. May come off as pessimistic, overly serious, and detached. Like I said, each planet has a dark and light. There's nothing like one planet does everything in astrology. Now coming to Rahu. Rahu is the trickster, experimenter, the obsessive compulsive OCD type character. 7 to 12. Okay. And then later at 40 to 47 we just saw desire, rebellion, illusion, intoxication. Obsessive desire is Rahu. The rebel, the dreamer, the charlatan, the visionary innovator. We become hungry for experience, recognition, and newness. Rahu is constantly seeking something new. Rahu periods bring fascination with taboo, fame, technology, and shortcuts. Like I said, everything I want to achieve right now is Rahu. As you can see, the entire social media is flooded with Rahu-like energy. External positive traits are creative, unconventional, innovative, charismatic. It can give positive traits. Those are the ones. Negative traits can be seen as manipulative, attention-seeking, and untrustworthy. I'm going through it rather breezily. Don't want to make this too long. Ketu is the mystic, the withdrawn sage. 13 to 15, and later at 48 to 50. Keywords being detachment, silence, invisibility, and wisdom. Ketu wants to hide. This entire set of podcasts is more like Ketu dissemination of Vedic astrology. Because I am not there. My face is not there on a camera. The hermit, the psychic, shadow walker. Suddenly introverted, inward-focused, minimalistic. Ketu is the classical minimalist. I don't want many things. I want to keep my life as minimalistic as possible. My personal character, just so you know, is as Ketu as possible. Spiritually inclined. Often misunderstood during adolescence or post-50 because of this. In fact, my spiritual journey began when I was 15. External positive traits, viewed as wise, spiritually mature, deep and unattached. Quiet confidence, depth of understanding. External negative traits may be seen as aloof, antisocial, or lost. People will call you this person is really lost. Okay? That's the negative side of Ketu. Everything has a positive and negative. Light and shadow is Jyotish. Jupiter, the sage and the scholar. 26 to 21, going to 51 to 56. 2 age brackets. Keywords being belief, knowledge, morality, and expansion. The preacher, the teacher, the mentor, the student of life. Jupiter phases make us seek truth, purpose, and guidance. You may find yourself enrolling in courses, workshops, spiritual paths, moral debates, moral, ethical, both. External positive traits they may be seen as optimistic, wise, generous, and ethical. Negative may be too preachy, too people-pleasing, too dogmatic, too out of touch with reality. That's negative trait of Jupiter. So it's not like you can say Jupiter is only positive. Then you're not really understanding Jyotish. Jyotish is understanding of shadow and light in equal proportions. Please remember this. Sun, the king, the identity seeker, 22 to 23, then 57 to 58. It's all about ego, it's all about your thought process. It's all also about your moral and ethical compass, just like Jupiter. The hero, the leader, the father figure. Sun stands for your father, moon for your mother. Behavioral shift. These phases push you towards independence, clarity of self, finding your personal brand. Who are you really? And the legacy, your legacy, what you will leave behind, your family legacy is also the sun. This is why kings used to be obsessed with leaving a legacy previously, the one which wears the crown. External positive traits are confident, inspiring, goal-driven, and authoritative. Negative ones, however, can appear arrogant, egoic, and overpowering. See that once again, there is always the positive and always the negative. There is no one thing in Jyotish. Now the planetary psychological archetype of the moon, the nurturer, the emotional self, 24 and 59. Isn't that a huge age gap right there? Emotions, home, mother, and intuition. What do these things mean to you in your life? Personal activation is mother, the caretaker, or the feeler. You become more attuned to emotional needs. You focus on that. Doesn't matter what the Mahadasha is, this planet is activated in those ages. So when you're doing the predictions, keep this in mind. External positive traits may be you may become caring, empathetic, gentle, and family-oriented, more mother-oriented. You think more about your mom. Negative traits, they might become too moody, too oversensitive, like a clingy person, or too dependent. Venus, the lover, the harmonizer, the aesthetic artist. 25 to 27, you might be more of that. Later at 60 to 62. It's all about pleasure. It's all about aesthetics. It's all about the perception of love rather than love itself. Love is a relative perception, balance, and values. The persona activated by Venus is the artist, the romantic, the diplomatic, or the aesthetician. There is no such thing right now in our civilization. We give very less importance to aesthetics. It's a sad thing because we have become a utilitarian civilization. Never mind. Sensuality, beauty, and relational intelligence rise. In love with life or entangled in it. This is a time of refinement. Like I said, we'll see more and more of Venus as refinement. External positive traits, they might seem more charming, graceful, aesthetic, and affectionate. Negative traits might be superficial, vain, or people-pleasing. Then comes Mars, the warrior, the doer, the action-oriented commander. 28 to 33 might be very aggressive, later at 63 to 68. Quite an elderly age to be becoming the warrior once again, isn't it? Maybe the military general. Action, passion, courage, and conflict. The fighter, the survivor, the entrepreneur, the protector. The highest graduation of Mars is the protector, like Hanuman. You adopt a no-nonsense, high-energy, assertive persona. Perfect time for starting something bold. Initiate something. Mars is the initiator. Positive traits might be strong, independent, ambitious, and protective. Negative traits might be aggressive, confrontational, or domineering. Last comes Mercury, the analyst, the messenger, 34 and 35, these 2 years. Logic, language, trade, and adaptability. You can even use the Naisargik Dashas of each planet, by the way, to focus on those increasing the skills or understanding this planet better. Okay, you can also do that. That will be a very worthwhile exercise if you ask me. Persona activated is intellectual communicator, negotiator, and strategist. Mercury is that part which is neutral. It is your intellect. What you applied for, it tends to absorb. Mercury and Moon are very absorbing kind of planets. They are absorptive energy. Mercury stands for the intellect, Moon for the emotion. They want to understand things. They are the slow student kind of learners through life. Persona activated is intellectual, communicator, negotiator, or strategist. External positive traits may be intelligent, witty, versatile, or business savvy. The business person is Mercury. Negative traits might be manipulative, cunning, or emotionally detached. Let's just conclude with this. Use all these Naisargik Dasha's principle in your chart when you're analyzing any kind of Mahadashas also. Don't just use Mahadashas like Vimshottari or Kalchakra Dasha or any Yogini Dasha, any system of analysis, but use where they are, what age group they are. Then you can guide the people better. I urge you once again to take advantage of the vast number of podcasts which are already there in the memberships area and which will keep coming. So long as I can provide you with this, I shall do my best. Thank you and good day.